What would you do if someone cast Imprisoned in the Moon on your commander? How devastating would it be? Would it be a minor speed bump because you could destroy the enchantment? Would it be a pretty big hurdle because you need your commander and you don't have many ways to remove it? Or would it completely disable your deck? The answer to that question should never be the third one. When you build your decks, you should make sure that you have some answers to every card type. But more importantly, your deck should never be built to solely rely on your commander. Let's take a look at Kalia of the Vast. She's a very powerful commander with a 2-card combo with Master of Cruelties. If you have both, a single Kalia attack can take one opponent out of the game. Master of Cruelties will set their life total to 1 before combat damage, and Kalia will deal the final point of damage to make that player lose. How would you fight against her? Most people's answer would be to remove Kalia. Destroy her each time you see her hit the battlefield, and once she's been sent back to the command zone 2 or 3 times, she'll be so expensive to recast that the threat will have diminished greatly. That's a great way to fight her. In fact, that's why many Kalia decks dedicate 10 or more deck slots to protection spells. People will pack their decks full of Lightning Greaves, Deflecting Swat, and Flawless Maneuvers, because they absolutely must keep their Kalia safe when they play her. They have a plan A, and they will do everything they can to make plan A succeed. But what if plan A doesn't work? What if someone counters your Flawless Maneuver, or manages to hit her with a Swords to Plowshares when you go to equip your Greaves? What's your plan then? Do you hope to top deck enough lands to replay her over and over until she finally sticks on board? If someone lands that devastating Imprisoned in the Moon, does your deck fold for 4 or more turns while you look for more land drops to hardcast your 7-mana Angels and Demons? I hope not. Too many people build their decks with a one-track mind. They pick a theme, make a plan A, and have no backup plan when that route to victory hits a brick wall. I'm here to say that when it makes sense, include routes to victory that don't rely on your commander. In fact, you should build your decks in a way that if you're never able to play your commander, your deck should still be viable and a potent threat. Let's go back to Kalia. Decks helmed by Kalia usually have 3 main components. Some turn 2 ramp to ensure a turn 3 Kalia, ways to protect Kalia, and big overcosted payoff creatures. If we're looking for a way to diversify how we land our big mana Angels, Demons, and Dragons, what are our options? Option 1 is ramp. These colors don't ramp well, and you'd have to pack the deck with so many mana rocks that it would dilute the deck if you want to use them to cast 7 and 8 drops. Option 2 is other cards that cheat creatures into play. Cards like Sneak Attack, Quicksilver Amulet, or Through the Breach. Some of these cards are good enough to include regardless of strategy. Sneak Attack probably makes the cut either way. Quicksilver Amulet is okay, but a little slow, so it's up to you whether you think it makes the cut. Through the Breach is questionably expensive and a one-time effect. Not too great. With these additions, now we're getting somewhere. If your Kalia gets countered every time you cast her, you still have a chance. You won't be dead in the water if you can land your Sneak Attack or Quicksilver Amulet, but those are only a few cards. Kalia being removed still puts a huge hitch in your step. What other options do we have? Another classic and powerful option for cheating huge creatures into play is Reanimator, and I think it's a perfect fit for Kalia decks. Reanimator strategies have a deep roster of powerful cards that can be cast for 1 to 3 mana. Without any ramp, it's easy to get a turn 2 reanimated big mana creature. You can cast Entomb turn 1 to put your best creature in the graveyard, and reanimate it turn 2 for a total of 2 mana. A turn 2 Avacyn Angel of Hope is not only a solid backup plan, but it's actually faster than using Kalia. A turn 1 Faithless Looting into turn 2 Animate Dead is the same devastating speed, and can result in a turn 2 Hoarding Broodlord to set up even more mana cheating plays to overwhelm opponents before they can stabilize. If you build your deck with strong Reanimator cards, Kalia won't be your single plan A with no backup plan. In fact, with a solid reanimation package, Kalia may not even be your plan A anymore. She may be your plan B. A boogeyman of the format that can be your turn 4 play in case your turn 2 reanimation target gets removed. What I'm recommending is that you build your decks to not need your commander. If an opponent cast Imprisoned on the Moon on Kalia in the aforementioned example deck, you wouldn't even blink. It would be such a non-issue that your deck could keep humming along and reanimating finishers and not even worry about freeing Kalia from her lunar cell. I would recommend you take a look at your decks and ask yourself, can this deck function without the commander? Because the answer should always be yes. I would go so far as to recommend you goldfish your deck or play a few games without ever casting your commander to see how it functions. Playing a game with the mindset that you don't have a commander to play can really open your eyes to vulnerabilities built into your deck lists. When you don't rely on your commander, things like an enemy Dranith Magistrate will not only not be a salty card, but may help you by disabling your opponent's commanders more than it hurts you by stopping your commander. Another example are Aret decks. Aret of the Charmed Apple and Aret the Beguiler are both decks that I see built in a way that suffer from over-reliance on the commander. With the Orzhov Aret on the board, you have a pillow fort board state that drains your opponent slowly. With Aret off the battlefield, you have subpar auras on your opponent's creatures who have a big incentive to attack you while she's not there. Aret the Beguiler is the better of the two Arets by far in my opinion. She not only lets you permanently steal opposing creatures by enchanting them, an effect which doesn't turn off if she leaves play, but she also is a perfect host for her original version. Aret of the Charmed Apple fits perfectly in Aret the Beguiler, and can be a nice backup plan if the commander keeps getting removed. So that's great. We have one backup plan. What else is there? Well, what if we change the type of auras we included? Instead of including auras that are useful when combined with Arets only, and are subpar or turn off completely when you don't have them, why don't we have a strong Enchantress beatdown deck waiting in the wings? It's already a good idea to include the draw Enchantresses, like Shram, Senior Edificer, and Core Spirit Dancer, to maintain a steady flow of cards when enchanting your opponent's creatures. But all the Enchantresses that are meant as support for the Arets are also great bodies to stack positive enchantments onto to beat opponents down when your commanders are removed. And just like with Kalia, there may be situations when the beatdown strategy is your plan A instead of a backup plan. But being able to have a resilient beatdown plan instead of relying on only the theft and pillow fort strategies depends on the enchantments that you include in the deck. I've seen too many Aret decks that are filled with negative auras, like Clawing Torment or even things like Pillar of the Sleepless in the Orzhov Aret decks, that are near useless when you don't have Aret, and all these auras are particularly bad when your opponents won't play their creatures because they don't want them enchanted. If you play positive auras like All That Glitters and play enough support creatures, you would be happy to enchant. You have a strong Enchantress beatdown framework that gets even better when the Arets are there to steal enemy creatures or drain opponents, but doesn't fall apart when they aren't able to stick around. Your auras will be flexible, able to be played on your creatures or enemy creatures effectively depending on the situation, and will never be dead cards. This same concept goes for Voltron decks as well. Voltron decks are by nature built around the commander, but the reason they've fallen out of favor so hard is because the decks get shut down relatively easily when you deal with the commander. Voltron decks will make that as difficult as possible to do, but just like the Kalia decks that go all in on protecting her, they sometimes fail and then are dead in the water. Your primary plan can be getting your Voltron strategy across the finish line with commander damage, but you need backup creatures to equip just in case. Don't pack your Judith Carnage Connoisseur deck full of every End the Festivities and all of its clones that do nothing without her. Those cards are one-sided board wipes with Judith, but without her they destroy almost no creatures and won't win games. Play her like a traditional Spellslinger deck with a Rakdos twist that makes tokens when she's on board and draws cards to find answers and other win conditions. Play Torolf, God of Fury, to supplement the burn strategy. Play other token makers like Young Pyromancer to have a board state without her. Maybe you even want to lean into spell copying to keep your instants and sorceries relevant without the commander. Playing your decks without your commander a few times can be a very helpful exercise to show you the vulnerabilities baked in during deck building, and can make you a better player and a better deck builder. Not only will it increase your chances of winning, but it'll save you from those non-games where your entire plan gets thwarted and you end up as a spectator, watching everyone else play Magic. That isn't fun for anyone. The best games have a nice back and forth, with decks on a similarly equal footing, where everyone gets to play. And building Achilles' heels into your decks is a preventable pitfall. Good luck out there, everyone, and remember, Commander isn't just about what's in the command zone. You don't need your commander.